There it is. Go ahead. Edit. All right.
Do you press your button now?
Oh, yes.
Okay, good.
The list of Jericho, Sy-bok wasn't really a villain. Yeah, we get it. I've read a bunch of comments like that since I posted the fucking thing, so it is what it is.
He's the antagonist of the film. End of story.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if he's the villain or not. He's the antagonist. He's a force they fought against. I'm sure we'll get into that as we go into them individually.
Oh, we're gonna talk about them each individually. Oh,
That's why I got pictures of each one. Yeah.
Oh, I just thought we were gonna just talk, and whichever one we're talking about, we'll pull it up.
No,
I don't want to have to.
Like I said,
I don't like the structured. I don't like the structured.
I prefer the structure because it gives us a nice flow. Well, we could always have someone super chat so we can jump to a certain villain as a way of doing that.
We always go on tangents, and I didn't think we were actually going to talk literally each villain. I thought we were just going to talk about the pros and cons of each.
Which should then also be to each villain. What do you mean?
Yeah, but not. All right, in the motion picture, the villain is mankind because they created Voyager. So we are all the villain.
That doesn't sound very interesting.
Exactly.
But that's the way you're saying it. You're not saying it in a way that's interesting. That's you, not the topic. But, well, there's 14 villains of the 14 films, or antagonists. So you guys can super chat and jump to who we talk to. That's a good way of doing it, I think. We'll have to do our general conversation.
Yeah, well, we got 2 super chats to start. Ozzy, $10. All hail Spirit Commander and Super Captain Foley. I'll chase you around the moons of... You put Nebula, but it's Nibia. Before I give you up. Fleet Admiral Skeleton Hands. Okie dokie. Thank you, Ozzy. Olivia Julia, it's $5. Sorry, I gotta go back to work, but here's a super chat to keep the most villainous of all Star Trek villains at bay. Hashtag offering to Fleet Paw. I think they're gonna call it Pug. Eugene, 250 rubles. Hot take: Star Trek doesn't need movies.
Oh, dum. Although you have vaguely agreed with that in the past.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I didn't think this was going to be a movie villain discussion, but because we said does Star Trek need villains? And you're like, well, we'll put the movie in the thumbnail to get people in.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so I didn't plan on talking about each one individually. Like, I don't know. I'm thrown for a loop.
But yes,
Matthew
shows why I don't have pictures of two villains because there's like thousands. I mean, there's hundreds of villains, so hence the movie ones are a focus point.
Yeah, we're just talking about oh, for fuck's sake, are you kidding me?
What?
My camera went off.
Oh no, you are confusingly paused.
Matthew DeFreitas, $5. Shinzon was the best villain of the TNG era films.
Oh.
There, I'll start you off. Okay, I totally disagree.
And yes, sorry about the Stuart's camera's a little bit wonky today. It was great earlier. It's like, what's better, guys, his internet or his camera going a bit wonky? Pick your poison.
I'm a technological void. Nothing fucking works around me, and it pisses me off.
Yes. But I will line up. So once we do our intro, we can talk about Shinzon first. Sure. I even up-res enhanced all the pictures. Mohaha. Because I was prepared for that. I would say I was going to start sharing, but you're not moving.
Well, I'm black. My screen is just black screen.
Oh, you got a on my screen. Trekyards says no spoilers. That'd be a hard thing to attain, but maybe.
Alright, I'm getting pissed off because I can't even go back into my settings. What the fuck is happening? Skype is frozen now.
I suppose just kill it and restart it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'll call you back in a minute then, or you call me. You call me in a minute.
Okay.
Fun times. Yes, there was a slight problem with it before we started, hence the slight delay today. Wasn't me this time. Was not my tech. Ta-da, there we go. Reserve me, camera. But yes, the villains, the antagonists. The Expanse, yes, no please. Yeah, we're going to talk about all of the different things. I wasn't intending to talk about all of them, but I mean, 2-hour discussion. It's nice to have some focus on some specific stuff. And I did specifically go in and find good screen caps of all the villains and enhance them, etc., to kind of add a bit of extra flair, because you know me and the flair. But villains, yeah, you know, villain, the trope in a movie is to have someone to fight against, but do you really need that? Do you really want that? Is Star Trek better without it? Or does Star Trek need that crutch? Or does Star Trek maybe be found out a primary villain, but does do well with a secondary villain, someone that's, you know, active to fight against, or at least push up against in the main story? That is a real question that we've got to answer this week on Trekyards. In some episodes, the crew are villains, yes, they certainly are. Felt bad for Sy-bok, so much potential. They just started out as a random cult thing. Died for it. Did he die for it though? He might murder the god. And, well, not really, but you know. Okay, let me just kill that camera and then that. Okay. It's going to go great from now on, buddy.
Jeff Jacobs, $2. First time here in a bit. Start with a quick 50. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, 50 likes. Awesome. 76 people watching. Hit that like button if you haven't. Olivia Julius, $20. Samuel was born in 93 during the tough years of the eugenics war. Can we say that for sure that Samuel isn't part of Khan's crew? Spelled Khan wrong. It's K-H-A-N. Everyone does that. Everyone spells it K-A-H-N, and I don't know why. It's right in the name of the movie. But anyway.
What is it then?
Not K-H-A-N.
Oh, no, yeah, I do that.
Khan.
Yeah, how did I write it?
Not saying this is true, but he doesn't look exactly the same as he did 6 years ago, though. Well, he's genetically modified like Dr. Bashir, so...
I'm often related to him. But to be fair, though, I can't be one of Khan's augments because they all left. That was the whole point. So I wouldn't be either way. Otherwise, I really left the... I really missed the boat. The boat left a while ago, and I just was not on it, and it sucked.
Yeah. The Scotch Trekker, £5. The Borg and Sona made a pretty good villains for the TNG movies. So how well do you think the Dominion would have turned out in a TNG film? There's not like one bad guy though, unless you count the female changeling.
Well, since all of the Dominion are one big entity in terms of the, I guess that she's just the mouthpiece of the Dominion. So yeah, that would be the closest thing. Literally an amorphous blob. Well, it's kind of nice all the different changelings were given a bit of different personality. All right, I'm going to start sharing, and you talk to our tremendous, phenomenal, and not at all villainous audience.
Cool. Yes. So guys, hit that like button if you haven't. It's a great way to help us out. Also, super chatting, as you can see, super chats help us out as well. Plus, get your comment read, your question answered, all that jazz. You know the routine. Don't forget to check out the Teespring store down below and all the great ways you can help us there. You can also send a PayPal if you want. Just if you do send a PayPal, let us know that you sent a PayPal so that we can read your comment or question via the email that way. Just for the record, I am extremely annoyed right now, and I will be the villain of this podcast or this live because I'm not in the best of moods for multiple reasons now. But Olivia Julius, $2, the villain of Trekyards, Stewart's Cam. Yep. I don't want to hear anything about my internet or my camera, please, because I will put my fists through something. So nothing I can do about it. So just the way it is. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to talk. I didn't think we'd be specifically talking about movie villains. We're just going to talk about the overall theme of the Star Trek need villains. So if you have any thoughts, input, by all means, do that. If you want to help us actually on a monthly basis as well, you can join the channel. A lot of people have joined the channel and helps us monthly, or you can head over to Patreon/Trekyards. It's another monthly service that helps us as well. So lots of great ways to help us. And yeah, were those whales villains? No, the villains of Star Trek 4 were mankind again, because mankind killed all the whales. And without that, there would be no whale probe coming back to see what was up with the whales. So again, it shows man is the villain. But yeah. And just dropping a like is the best way to help us out. 89 people here, 63 likes. I think we can hit 75 easily before Samuel gets back from sharing, I think would be great. So if you can, please do. And we'll go from there. Voyager Equinox is a good example of a villain being redeemed. Well, he's not a villain. He's just a Starfleet captain, a wayward one. Unless you want to call the little parasite things that come through dimensions the villains. But yeah, that's definitely not a villain, I don't think. But yeah, this live's off to a great start, guys. You guys are really engaging, and hopefully you'll have a lot of interesting things to say villain-wise to help us out. Because, yeah, it's been really engaging so far, and looking forward to seeing what we can come up with here.
Hi, yes, Joe.
Hi. We've got 3 super chats. Olivia Julius, $2. The villain of Trekyards, Stewart's Cam. Sean Corpier, $2. Burnham is the villain sometimes. Or a villain sometimes.
She's certainly an antagonizing force. Not antagonist, it's antagonizing.
And Sean Corpier, $2. Are most Admirals villains? No. No, I don't think so.
Well, Dowdy is obviously, so there is a case for the bad Admiral.
I don't call him a... Well, I guess I might.
I mean,
he's wayward people.
I did just watch that movie 2 days ago because I was working on my shuttle, and he actually orders the death of the crew. So, or he allows them. He gives implicit permission for them to go talk to Riker with the obvious knowledge of shoot them down. So yeah, he agrees to kill the Enterprise crew. So that's pretty villainous. Killing our heroes. Not. Although I love the acting. I really wish he was in more. Wouldn't that have been cool if it was Sepp in DS9? Wouldn't that have been great?
Yeah.
I don't think I would have afforded him, but that'd have been fun.
Eugene, 250 rubles. Hot take number 2. Star Trek doesn't need outright villains, only antagonists, and movies don't have enough time to significantly flesh out either of them. Yeah, I totally agree with that, actually.
Which might be why both Star Trek 2 and Star Trek First Contact benefit the most. Actually, Star Trek 6, all 3 of them use villains that already existed in the sense of you understand where they're coming from. Yeah, so obviously Khan, Khan... In Star Trek 6, you understand the Klingons, so they're not coming out from a random place. It's all like he's a new Klingon, but they understand everything about the culture, and then you understand the Borg. So there's you're saving yourself explanation time by including ones you've already known. Whereas like Shinzon in Nemesis, they have to do an entire scene literally explaining his origin.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's a relatively simple origin, but yes. But speaking of. They did ask about Shinzon, though. What do you think? Did he make a good villain? Where would he... Or where... Does he work or not work? I guess that's the simple equation.
I'd say no, honestly. Like, just the whole premise around his character. He's basically Picard, but just... It's nature versus nurture is what that story's all about. And I don't think it hits well. Picard doubts himself because if he had lived the same life, would he have made the same decisions? And I don't think that you can say that just because genetically you're the same doesn't mean you're the same person. Villain-wise, though, the way he wipes out the Romulan Senate, I mean, that's pretty... His ambitions are definitely villainous for sure. So he does work on some levels, but... It's kind of a weird premise just from the beginning that they wanted to clone Picard, but I don't know. It's kind of hit and miss for me on him. Depends on my mood, I guess.
And did they ever do cloning in Star Trek? I mean, like more than once a show. Because I'm trying to think. It's really there's Enterprise and there's this, like actual biological cloning.
Well, in TNG, Up the Long Ladder with the colonists, there's the cloners. And then the other ones are split off.
But that was treated as a, wait, what? So I think cloning is actually pretty rare in Trek, actually. Now, transporter cloning, but real cloning, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Shinzon also, if he hadn't have gone more maniacal at the end, he's better as a strategist. Because he's not physically opposing. The only reason he became such a leader is because he was a strategist. You know, he was more tactical than the Remans, and they used that to go with force. So almost kind of needed to be more of a Hans Gruber, stay tactical the entire time and not go dying, not go evil, not go stay more, you know, maybe.
Yeah, he would have been a lot less threat-wise if it wasn't Picard that was up against him. Because it made Picard doubt himself. It made Picard, doubt, everything. If it had been just any other captain, it'd be like, whatever.
Fire quantum.
This guy, didn't have Starfleet training. He's not the same as Picard that I went to the academy with. Whatever, who cares, But because it was you versus yourself, you're wondering, would I be in the same position if I was him? And is his motivations justified? Like, it would make you think about the situation a lot differently, for sure. So that's the biggest advantage that Shinzon had, in my opinion.
Although once you get into the Rift battle, I don't think that factors into Picard's ability to shoot phasers. Like, he orders the weapons at every point. There's no great delay for that stuff. So I think it almost didn't need the space battle. It needed more, So there really isn't a space battle in Star Trek 6. If you think about it, they get battered and then strategy. It's all about strategy and then a single torpedo. They kind of needed that for this, I think. Outsmarting. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And what kind of strategist was he? Like, how was he trained? Like, they wanted to fast track him to become Picard, and then that plan got dumped, so he got dumped in the mines.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what kind of training did he have? We're never really clear on that. Or as tactical or military strategy goes.
Did they not potentially say that he did have some memories of Picard? Or do he have nothing? Because how could he possibly pretend to be Picard without any of his memories or background? He wouldn't last very long, as he said, to replace Picard. You'd need to know something about him.
I'm trying to remember what the line was about that. I don't know.
Yeah, because he I feel like he did say at the dinner scene, I see with your eyes, I remember looking up the stars, because they both have the same discussion, but he said, you look at the stars, I look at the stars, are they the same stars? Do we have the same thoughts as we look up to them? There was nothing about... But I thought it was when he was a kid. I thought it was him saying, when I was a kid, I used to look up, and Shinzon's like, yeah, I know. I thought that was part of it.
No, I don't think so. People are mentioning Wayun clone, like the Dominion cloning.
There you go. No, yeah. Well, actually, Jem'Hadar also clones. Just bred clones. Well, a species that, you know what I mean.
And Kevin Williams says, isn't cloning banned after the Eugenics Wars? No. Genetic augmentation, just genetics in general. So that would include cloning, but just genetic enhancements were cloned. Were banned.
Well, it's just like robots. I guess they've never really done robots or cloning. Time travel! But no, those two. Yeah, I think Shinzon would be... So I like the idea that the innate genetic ability of Picard makes him a good strategist. Like, learning the same... Like, maybe he was given the same books that Picard was given when he was young to try and get the same brain churning, and then given, like, Reman books and Romulan books, and so suddenly he's being developed. So wouldn't that be interesting if he actually had, all the knowledge that Picard had, tactical-wise from reading, but also Reman and Romulan and, Jatvash knowledge. So let us know, guys. Super chat now. Which villain you want to talk about next in the films? Just so you guys know, we'll change when you guys super chat with who's next.
Keith Jeffrey, 1974, £5. The best villain has always been humanity's own darkest tendencies. Star Trek 6 mistrust. Yeah. I mean, Star Trek 4, honestly, the villain is humankind, humanity. It's our instincts, because we killed the whales. If it wasn't for that, Earth wouldn't be being attacked by a whale probe.
Well, it's
so
not
mankind is its own...
But
what?
Well, it's not actually being attacked, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's good. Well, yeah, but...
That was the whole point. It's accidental. Like, their signal is causing the damage. They're not trying to hurt people. They're just, oops. I think once they saw there was no people, then they were trying to hurt them, maybe, but they didn't seem malice. Although, that's a bit of a cop-out. It's like saying the villain of Discovery Season 2, 3 is the burn because it sucked a while ago. It's like, I mean, yes, but not practically. So the villain of People is like, yeah, I get, or the whales is like, yeah, fine, but that was a long time ago and is, not actually the villain of the show. Again, villain, antagonist.
Yeah. Kevin McNulty, $5. Thank you for both being amazing. Yeah. Thank you both for all your amazing videos.
Thank you.
All the movies require a challenge to overcome, sometimes in the form of a villain. Almost always in the form of the villain for movies.
Mm-hmm.
But Star Trek is about, scientific exploration and things like that. Like, why not have a science bad theme that's going to destroy the universe, like literally? And it might not be engaging, I guess, but it's kind of what the conversation's about today. Like, do you need a villain? Do you need a villain to really have a good popcorn action flick or, just adventure?
Well, this is my kind of annoyance in Generations versus All Good Things. All Good Things, the villain is an anomaly, and it's brilliant. Generations is just fight the guy. I know he's also fighting time in a sense, but All Good Things is a better movie than Generations in every way possible. Except it hasn't got Kirk. Like, that would have been a great movie. 3 time zones. Imagine with the movie budget, of really seeing 3 time zones, maybe even seeing a 4th, maybe seeing mega future. I don't know. Like, that shows you can kind of do that whole movie length. And even, well, I was gonna say no, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I think that would have been a good movie personally.
Sean Corpier, $2. Dominion clones. Yeah. Thank you, Sean.
Well, yeah, thanks. I've forgotten because I'd forgotten. But yes, well done, guys. Remind me of the truth of the Dominion clones.
And BJ Vincent, $5. According to producers, it seems, yes, Star Trek needs villains in movies because boldly going to new forms of storytelling isn't what fans want.
Isn't what fans want. Which fans? The problem with having the JJ stuff is you've now made new fans that want the pew pew bang bang. Are those the guys that are buying the uniforms and merchandise? Maybe not.
Yeah, exactly. A very small percentage of those would be.
It's like there are fans and then there are fans. I'm not sure if they're showing it to their kids and saying, look, children, be inspired at the punching of Khan in the face. It's very inspiring. Oof. He punched him good.
George Mangrum, Kroll is greater than Shinzon.
Well, let's talk about it. Kroll, which I'm glad I remember the name of.
Idris Elba, very underused in that role, I think. I didn't like that he was a human, and it's like, oh, surprise, at the end, he's a human captain. Can't you tell? It's like, no. I didn't like his motivations. I didn't like the coincidences that came up with that. Like, they had the relic on board the Enterprise that he needed, and and they built the starbase right next to an unknown nebula.
Yeah, that makes no sense. Yeah,
there's so much stupidity in that movie that as a bad guy, his motivations and stuff sure, he was Mako, and then he got given a ship after wartime to be like, here, okay, that's better than a lot of ex-military would get probably. So I don't know.
Well, it's one of those things where let's go for extremely simple idea. Kind of almost like Churchill, England. Man that works best in war, suddenly thrown into peace, didn't quite work, and then obviously tragedy, etc. I quite like the sci-fi concept of him being a vampire, sucking life from people in order to live. I thought that was an interesting concept. It's, again, very simple, very done before, but it's a good way of having the guy live longer. But he's not overly interesting himself. That's where at least Shinzon has that relatableness, You can watch those scenes and kind of appreciate everything that's going on, but with him, he's just like, yeah, fine. Not that this is the worst thing in the movie, but although his makeup's amazing, I really like the design. It's somewhat generic, but I think it still works really well.
It also has a vampire feel to it.
Yes.
A little bit like a sci-fi vampire. So.
But what probably, and he basically just alluded to it, what would have been smart is actually to have him become Idris Elba, in the second half, like he comes out like he's killed 10 members of the Starfleet crew, managed to bring all the human energy back into himself, which is what he's doing, but fully become Kroll, and then bring in his old uniform, but now he's modified it to be all like you have it, 2 holsters on the legs, Like, he's full Starfleet again, but now he's like, motherfucker, I'm gonna kill everybody. Like, go badass Idris Elba. Like, that...
Yeah.
And then it's like, he went from being... Like, his brain was corrupted by being the alien. That, I think, would have really helped it. But then that's almost kind of the reveal like Khan was. Like, I am Khan. And you're like, I am a human Mako. And you're like, oh, okay. It's like, I mean, great. You swap a root again. You know? I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, it would have been better use of the actor, I think, to do that. But, I mean, Kroll wasn't all bad. I just didn't, you know... In the pantheon of villains, he's kind of at the bottom-ish part for me. But yeah, I think it would have been better to have him actually regain some of his humanity and kind of struggle with it a bit more at the end and see him as a human. I love that, getting back the human energy finally, because he's got humans he can, you know...
Like, why wouldn't he rush and just become human straight away? That's been his, you know... He's forced to be a vampire for a long time. Now, so do you prefer him or Sy-bok? As a villain, you know, as the point of the story to be the villain antagonist. Hard questions here on Trekyards.
It is a hard one because Sy-bok's more of a threat almost, because he's related to Spock. So you start doubting your heroes, because heroes might act in a different way because they're related to or have a history with the. Whereas this guy is just like, yeah, it's some ex-captain. Who cares, right? But yeah, so Sy-bok is a little bit more of more layers there, I think. Kroll is very much like a cut and paste cookie cutter villain for an action film, honestly. Sy-bok was like half brother who's got a little bit of resentment towards Spock, and
at least Kroll was a nice twist that he was a human officer, like linked to Enterprise, Makos, and he obviously had to serve the XO1 to fight the Xindi War. Like, at least it was in the canon. But how nice would it have been if they actually had a scene where Scott Bakula came back to be Archer and Kroll was meeting him? We actually got a scene of them on the NX-01 as like a flashback. We get, oh my god, he literally was on the NX-01. How powerful would that have been? You know, you get like literally bring Scott Bakula back and we do a scene where he saves Archer's life in one of the most important episodes. Like, they literally take a scene from Azati Prime and make a new moment, and now he's in it. Like, would that have improved it? If you kind of retcon him into all events, because he had to have been on the NX-01 to be in the Xindi War, end of story. But if they'd actually done some scenes, some flashbacks, what do you think?
I mean, it would have been too much of a coincidence, too much of a contrivance. Like, all our characters don't need to know somebody else. I know, but it doesn't have to be Archer. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been great if Scott Bakula got pulled in and kind of stole the thunder from all of the Chris Pine and them, because they got their thunder stolen by Riker or Jonathan Frakes in the last episode. So it would have been kind of ironic that way. But
I guess then I would have phrased it more as they take clips from Enterprise and CGI'd him into them using green screen. So literally, because he's just part of the Mako team, and so he's the Archer. Bakula looked older, but it's a way of having, and like you take a scene and then you. Just like Trials and Tribulation, you take a scene where you can kind of add a new character in and then have him talk to Bakula, but you know, I think that would have really worked strongly. Like I say, it is convoluted, but also explains why he was able to survive, because he was trained on the ship that dealt with the most of all Starfleet. You know, it's like, why do we see the best of the best? Because they're the best of the best. You know, why can in Mandalorian these people kill everybody? Because they're the best of the best. That's why we're following them. Tricky line.
OJ Gaming puts in $10. I am the cutest of pug. Resistance is futile. Your life as it has been is over. From this time forward, you will feed us. Surrender your couch and prepare your kibble. The kibble. From now on, you will be odd. Thank you, Olivia. Go subscribe to Olivia's new channel, OJ Gaming, if you want. She does some good gameplay stuff on there. So
nice.
Sebastian, aka Space Daddy, €2. Best villain equals Dukat by a long shot. Yes, Dukat is a fantastic villain.
Is he even a villain though? Yes,
he is. But well, that's the thing though. In his own mind, not at all, and that's what makes the best villains. Like, you love how he justifies what he did as being like what was things. You know, the deaths went down when I took over the whatever. You know, I took care of the Bajoran slaves. Yeah, so he was a dangerous villain for sure.
But I
sometimes it's the ones that don't realize that they're insane. They're the most dangerous. So.
I think obviously he is a villain, but I think because he's in so much of the show, he's almost a regular. Like,
oh yeah,
like he doesn't doesn't really feel like the same villain material because he's not like, oh, he's the villain. He's just like he's one of the characters. It's like Wayoon. It's like, yeah, it's Wayoon, man. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like just by having that much depth, takes away from the part of this conversation. You know.
Yeah. Sean Corpier, $5.
Thank you.
I prefer my exploration in the shows and villains in the movies. Well, that's kind of what they did end up going with the original formula. But now, like when we don't have shows around it, like JJ, it's like it just doesn't work. I don't think because you don't see the other side of it, that coin. Especially considering Into Darkness, it's like I am Khan. It's like so. How do you spell that? K-A-H-N or K-H-A-N?
Well, let's talk about Khan B. And then we'll talk about Khan A, because they're not the same. Hey, at least we got to see Bandit play a villain. He doesn't really play villains, so that was fun.
But he's a fantastic villain, just not Khan. I love how somebody said that he's just one of the 74 eugenics guys.
Sorry about that, guys. OBS just had or whatever. So yes, rephrase or re-say.
There was the theory floating around that he's actually not Khan. He's actually just
really
who just happened to be like thought out, I guess. What happened? Did it crash again?
No, just lost you for a second as you was the exact same moment of you saying good stuff, and now your camera's frozen.
Oh. Well, it's not on my end.
Well, wait for you to come back then. I mean, what do you do? Do you go with that theory that you might not actually be Khan?
Yeah, I love it. Like his leader's name is Khan. He was lucky enough to be woken up. He assumed the name, so that they'd look him up in the records, Section 31, see that this is Khan Noonien Singh. This is a guy a military strategist, a genius, a general. Yes. Meanwhile, Khan's still in another cryotube somewhere, looking at Ricardo Montalbani. I don't know. It just explains a lot of the differences and stuff. Let me turn my camera off and on again. Maybe that'll.
Now, do you think though that letting the people who thought you know that you're the leader is the wisest move, or is that just a very clever way of gaining power? Especially if you then just kill Khan instantly, because if he does get awakened, kills the guy, although all of your people wouldn't know you're Khan, unless you did then say they genetically engineered me to look white and have a different voice and different accent. How did he change his voice and accent? So successfully. I know he's a Superman, but changing your voice it's quite hard because it's your voice.
Yeah. Well, there's no proof that in the JJ verse that Khan had that accent. That kind of stupid argument, but.
Well, I won't bother arguing. But I mean, they also have cinder blocks in the universe on a ship's engineering, so whatever.
Yeah.
But I think
I just wish he would have stayed John Harrison. Honestly, the Khan twist wasn't needed.
He's better as John Harrison, an ex-Section 31 agent that's gone rogue. That's all you need. And then you have a reveal that Section 31 double-crossed him, killed his family, let his family die, let his brother die. That's all you need. Section 31 was enough of a pull. You don't need the Khan thing. And it actually detracted from it, probably.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
It did. It being Khan in the second JJ movie, like he's ripping off because he has no original ideas, was a bad idea.
Writers, but yeah.
It was a bad move, Ripley. They needed to have a different villain for number 2. And like John Harrison, when he first heard that, was like, okay, cool, not Khan.
Yeah. It's also the most white guy name possible, too.
Well, yeah. So, it wasn't needed, and I think it detracted from the movie. I think if it had been just a genetically modified whatever, or just even a Section 31, as you said, I think it'd be more interesting a movie, and it wouldn't be judged as harshly as it has. Because honestly, it's a fun sit down. It's literally a popcorn flick.
Yeah, don't think about it at all.
Kind of a guilty pleasure if you can take your mind out of the Star Trek world
Or even the
just watch
film mind. Don't watch it want to gain anything. It's not a gain anything sort of movie, except fun.
Yeah, it's a popcorn flick, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I don't know what I was saying. I forget.
Kind of like Transformers 1 or 3. You just watch it and enjoy, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas like Bad Boys, which are kind of those, but also they have so much character and so much like, you know what I mean? They're so much deeper, even though they're not, but they are. And I also think if they wanted to, and it would have actually been kind of fun if they'd done the opposite. If they'd said, if leaked it was Khan, get people intrigued to go, it reveals it is just John Harrison, but they did find Khan, and they used their blood to make a new set of genetic super soldiers in that timeline. They killed Khan because F Khan, and so he is like using Khan's blood in the abstract sense, and then he has got this. It's the same story. He has got his genetically modified brothers, and he did go rogue because he was now smarter than 631. And then you have a reference to Khan, and you can even see Jai Rakota Montalban or whatever, or show a clip from space. You know, like you can still use that. And then we're like, oh, well, I mean, Khan is in it, but not really. Nice twist. You know, what do you think?
And that would work. That would work for the twist, because the twist for Star Trek 2, the first one, was the word. Early test screenings and word got leaked out that Spock died.
Yes.
Fans got in an uproar, and
Boom.
if Spock dies, we riot. Fuck you. And then so
Yeah.
Mayer kills Spock in the Kobayashi Maru scenario.
Yeah.
As a way of saying, that was the death. Ha! Now your guard is down.
No, I love that.
So
yeah,
that would have worked.
So picture this then: movie starts, instead of the crappy bullshit, awful beginning, absolutely atrocious. Instead, it starts with the space seed floating, and a different spaceship comes in.
Bay.
Botany Bay, yeah. Sorry, yeah, Botany Bay, and then you see, like a year later, and you're like, oh no, those Khan rumors were right. Fuck, they showed us it in the first scene, and then you introduce to John Harriman, same sequences. You're like, oh, that must be Khan, obviously, and she'll no, he isn't, but he's, or it could be like his son. I wouldn't mind that. You know, he was found 30 years ago, had a kid, then it is kind of half Khan of kind of Khan. What do you think?
I mean, I think it would have been better if I like the idea of seeing the Botany Bay on screen first, and then cutting to like a year later, and then it's kind of going by all these tanks with like people in them. And the last one is like Ricardo Montalban, and then you see John Harrison's face standing beside it, and they're giving him his debriefing about, okay, so now that you've been genetically modified,
yep,
you know, so Khan's there, and I think Section 31 would have done that instead of reviving Khan and opening up a possible threat to them, to just say these guys have, you know, look at their DNA, it's obviously been augmented. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that augment gene and we're going to modify it and give it to one of our lead, you know, spies.
Yeah,
essentially.
That could have been funner. Yeah, and then you'd have it, because I would think him and Kirk are, you know, they can know each other. I mean, you could have a small universe, or him and Spock. Maybe he knew him. He's like, wait, you're Section 31? What? That could be a nice twist. Or what if Harrison was actually on the crew? And we think as the audience he's Khan because they kind of shown at the start, but he's not. But he's in with the crew. And then the whole... there's so many better ways you could take it and be really smart.
Yep.
Or wouldn't it be even funnier? They see the Botany Bay at the start and then they shoot it and destroy it. And you're like, oh. Huh. I guess those rumors were wrong. But it turns out that was after they'd beaten them all off, etc. God, I'm sorry, Stuart. I'm sorry I made us have better ideas. Frustrating.
Even that would make more sense than 74 human-sized photon torpedoes that fit in this Enterprise and fire out of tubes that are on the side of the secondary hull for some reason.
And not even that, but did they not detect there was no antimatter in any of those weapons? Like, didn't you... I know they said they were shielded, but there's a lot of antimatter.
You wouldn't necessarily be scanning each torpedo, and they are shielded, so...
But you'd think...
That's kind of a questionable thing.
Maybe you'd notice... I mean, surely the weight would be different. People versus all the explosive ordnance, because they were hollow. Like, they had thrusters and hollow. That's going to be different. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What do they all think?
Let's see.
And guys, remember, Super Chat for us to swap villains, movie villains that we will discuss.
There's lots of super chats, so we've got to read some.
Brilliant.
Okay, Sebastian, aka Space Daddy, 5 euros. There is enough good movies out there where the villain is a natural phenomenon like a virus or pandemic. Yeah, and that's kind of the thinking that I had going into this. Like, there's so many scientific things that could be a villainy or villainesque that we see in TNG all the time, where you don't necessarily need a bad guy. You need some science problem that needs solving because literally it will destroy an entire quadrant or something. But that's less exciting seeing scientists run around and retrieve things, I guess. I don't know. You could make it exciting. It doesn't have to be somebody shooting at you.
Well, we had the fetch quest in Rise of Skywalker, but they had shootouts every time as well.
True.
Fetch quest the movie.
Yeah. Eugene, 150 rubles. All hail Brano, the producer. He's got lens flares. It's what fans crave. Brano? That's new. Haven't heard that. Chris Carlin, £5.
Thank you.
On the DVD commentary for Generations, Ron Moore and Brian Braga said All Good Things, which only took 2 weeks to write, was better than the movie.
Yep, they rushed out
better
one
than
and
Generations.
Rushed out one and the script wise and spent another year writing the other one. Crazy.
I didn't mind Generation. Just saying. Soran was kind of a dumb villain, though, to be fair.
Good acting.
Well, yeah, Malcolm McDowell's awesome.
Yeah.
But anyway, Tom Zeros, 48, $10.
Oh, thank you.
Having villains is easier for writing safe storytelling. What they want for big movie investments. My favorite movie was Star Trek VI. The true villain is the conspiracy, essentially, embodied in Chang. I do love villains. Yeah, the conspiracy, like all the conspirators, on both sides, was an interesting antagonist. Again, not really a villain per se, but I thought that was well done. It's one of the reasons Star Trek VI is one of my favorite movies. Because there's a lot more going on there, and it's a lot more realistic than a big baddie trying to blow up the universe.
I mean, there is still. I mean, Chang is still a tremendously good big bad. But yeah, the fact that, and it's obviously special edition is where that other comes in, but the fact that, humans are also bad, that is a very good version of the humanity is the problem, because both the Klingons and the humans are both working together to cause a war. That is a wonderful, real, relatable, shitty thing. So that's a very good equivalency, yeah.
And Mark Lawrence says, Brondo from Idiocracy, better water than from the toilet. Better than water from the toilet. Idiocracy is a great movie, guys. Yeah.
I don't even know what that is. Sorry.
Oh, you need to watch Idiocracy. You'll love that movie. Idiocracy. Not a banned account, puts in $3. Doesn't need villains. Borg Queen was a mistake.
Ah, Borg Queen.
The Borg Queen was a bit of a mistake. I like the Borg better when they were first introduced as a kind of faceless threat. The fact that there's a linchpin in that whole organization is a bit of an issue. And we find out later there are actually like several other queens as well, I believe, and whatever. So it immediately gives them an Achilles heel to have one person kind of in charge of certain sectors or whatever of ships, right? And all drones. I liked the original premise of the Borg, where it was like no one person kind of in charge. So I agree.
Also, we had this large debate with Anti-Tracker, but he basically argues the Borg are the Borg 3 times, and the rest of them, they're not the Borg. So you're welcome to say that, that the original premise, but that premise was abandoned instantly. They realised it wasn't a useful villain because you're fighting just a rock, basically, that's just going to go forwards. There's nothing there. There's no meat. There's no menace. I mean, besides it's a zombie. The zombies are not deep. Zombies are dull unless you give them more.
But the brainless zombie hordes just keep coming after you've blown like 50 of them away, and they just keep coming and they coming.
But that's a one-note situation.
That's more. I know, but that's way more terrifying than somebody directing them, I think.
But that's the difference between it. Part of the Borg being so interesting is that they also don't respond to you unless they're threatened. But then the Queen can also notice you and then make them notice you, and so that shift of perspectives are important. But obviously, we both talk about this a lot, and we like the idea that Hugh spawned the queen, etc. Like there's a unfortunately there's a human perspective that, and the cuties, etc. Like they evolved, and you can kind of feel that throughout the show. But I really wish though with the queen, especially in Voyager, they'd made it clear that she's not actually a character. She's a manifestation of the entity of the Borg. Because if you go too much character, then she's the one controlling it. But that's not how the tech is. It's a mouthpiece for the collective and a CPU, an organic CPU. You know, most drones are just workarounds. She's a queen, but a queen still works to instinct, so it's not actually a character. So that I still think on that level, so I'm fine with it because it's not really a character. Hence why she can die 3 times and still be the same character. Yeah. Because that's not the point. They're just bringing another one out of storage. You know? It's like the T-800s. If you fight 5 Arnies, they're all the same. They're just a manifestation of Skynet. They're not characters. They're just a robot that's doing a mission, you know?
Well, that's the point of the Terminators, though, to be that. And he was a little bit different because of the things that happened to him. So that what's made him special and unique. So I see what you're going for, but...
But also it did add another level of depth. I just wish maybe not so much sexualness. Because when you make the zombies kinky, it's a bit like, oh, that's a turn. We're doing that, are we? Yes, we are. We are doing that. Cool.
Fleet Pass, Fifth back $2. TVH didn't have a real villain. It was the best film. The Voyage Home. Like I said, the villain in that was mankind and our greediness or our short-sightedness. But yeah, best film, probably one of the best for sure. It felt very much like an episode. Everybody got a chance to shine as well, which I really like about that one. So I see what you're saying. A lot of people would argue that the Borg probe is a villain. It's not. Not the Borg probe, the whale probe. Yeah, no real villain in that one except for time, I guess.
Although Andrew Kingpin says, the Borg Queen has libido. That's not manifestation of the collective, is it? No, she was trying a technique to get information out of data so that they could unlock the computer so they could destroy Earth. She's just a computer program going through things to convert him. That's a way of doing it. There's nothing
specific. Give him what he wants. Yeah,
there's nothing unique about it. It's just, she's using every option, and that one was working, clearly. Same with Locutus. It's like, I want him to do bits and bobs, and, it's just a clever game. But that's why I've got a picture of the the whale probe, because the whale probe is the antagonist. They still do have an antagonist. It's quite interesting, even though it's the film without one. There is still an antagonist, and I'm sure many, many people died on Earth with all the,
or in spaceships.
Well, yeah,
like starships.
Yeah, but I mean, all the electrical storms, etc. Like some people got killed for different reasons, so it still killed loads of people, and it still is a threat, and a threat that could not have been fought. It literally was too much for the entire Earth to deal with completely. So there is an antagonist, which I quite like, but it's not villainous. It's not motivated. It's very much like the Organians. It's a being. It's a life. It's a faction so much higher that you've got to work to its rules.
Yeah.
Because it's like the Q, But it's not there to do it for malice. It's just there to do it because, etc., etc.
Yeah. My buddy Christopher Dahl is here. Space Art by Christopher Dahl puts in $5 and says you can skip this one. A little just donating. So thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate that. He does some really great live paintings on Twitch.
Oh, wow.
And it's really fun to watch. So
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Let's see here. Ozzy Madero's $5.
Thank you.
Khan A is the best villain of them all. Fleet Admiral Skeleton Hands. Okie dokie.
I'll let you talk about the super chats, then we can talk about Khan A.
You want me to jump on some super chats first?
Julia, well, right. That's our next.
Livia Julius, $10. Can we talk about how lucky Khan was? Again, spelt wrong. Khan. That's just really been bugging me lately because I've seen it a few times. The Reliant with Chekhov visiting the planet, thinking it was another. Kirk happened. to be on Enterprise when Marcus sent him a message, and Kirk happened to respond. Khan wasn't looking for Kirk. The fact that he ran into Kirk, I think, was fortuitous. I don't think he was out looking for Kirk specifically. He just, luckily enough, ran into Chekhov, who used to be on the Enterprise. Well, I guess that's what probably sparked his thought process to try to find Kirk, but I don't think he just wanted to.
Okay, well, let's break that down for a second then. So he finds Chekhov, he gets the ship. Yeah, because it's not about Kirk, it's about Genesis. He wants the power of Genesis, and who happens to go to find... Not Chekhov. It's not about Chekhov, it's about finding Genesis, because they've stopped communicating. Kirk. It could have been anybody.
And yeah, it was as Kirk that remade the message that Marcus had made in the other movie about talking about the Genesis device.
For some reason.
Yeah, for plot convenience, absolutely.
So it was about the power of Genesis. You know, it's like an opportunity you can't pass up, and the coincidence of it being Kirk that was sent. Oh no, it was not just that. It was Carol that voice chatted Kirk asking for help. But that's also a coincidence as well, because Khan didn't know Kirk's ex-girlfriend was on the station, so that's more just wrong person, wrong time. Yeah, so he wasn't looking for Kirk. Just very, very lucky.
Yeah. Yeah. It became a revenge once you knew that Kirk was on the Enterprise, like, coming after him.
Oh, yeah.
But...
Well, it's like...
It wasn't, I want to get off this planet to kill Kirk.
Nope.
I wanted to get off this planet. And then, okay.
Not eat sand every day. That's it. You know, look how my hair has become grey and long and my chest becomes so sexy. I need to not be... But it's sad because one of his other officers do say to him, you know, we've got a ship, we can go now. The other guy's like, no, we've got him now. And it's like, yeah, but we could leave today. Do something cool. Go plunder. Yeah.
But could they? Because they just stolen a Federation starship. Like, they would have been tracked down eventually. So
yeah, but I can imagine if they warp 8 in one direction long enough, they won't be chased.
They'll get blown up by Romulans.
Well, hey, that's a whole different movie. That's true. That is true. Star Trek 3: The Revenge of Khan against the Klingons. Just following Ricardo on his adventures.
The Scotch Trekker puts in £2. The magic blood sucks. Hey, what if a vampire sucked the magic blood? Would they become like... Would they be cured of their vampirism? Would they... That's a good question. Jeff Jacobs, $2. 100. Sweet. On to 150. Big hug for Cap. Hashtag make Jeff pay. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. And 148 people here with 104 likes. Awesome. Let's hit 125. Let's do it. 125. Hit that like button if you haven't already. It really helps out.
And it's great to see you all here. You know, we're still all in lockdowniness, and it's nice to have this interaction with you guys. And
it's been a great discussion, actually.
Yes. Yeah. And we haven't even talked about all of them, or even the TV ones, because it's up to you guys. You guys are, like I said, you put in the super chat who you want to talk about. We're going to talk about them. It'll be other people and other... we talked about Dukat briefly, so you guys control the conversation, and that's good. Not
a band account puts in $2. Instead of John Harrison, he could be Gary Mitchell. Hey, Gary Mitchell in the second, like, Into Darkness, this would have been awesome. That would have been a great little reveal that he was still alive, escaped that planet. That would be kind of neat, actually. I'd be more on board with that, because I just hate that it was like, oh, Star Trek 2 was about Wrath. Khan was the best Star Trek, so we're gonna just... Khan's gonna go in our movie now. That's what it felt like, and it just didn't work. So I like the Gary Mitchell idea.
The only thing about that, though, is that what makes you think the same situation would have happened? Because Kirk got the command like 20 years earlier, so that'd be very contrived to say he also had Gary Mitchell on a planet, the same planet. Like, that's not believable. You know, I've been kind of for 30 years now, and you've been Gary, I've been a captain 30 years. You just made it commander. Ha! See, if you had betrayed the Starfleet command, if you had gone to Vulcan, you could have been a captain at
But,
the Academy too.
No, we're talking Into Darkness. He's only been a captain for like 2-3 years at that point.
But I'm saying if you then get to the point in the Gary Mitchell storyline, I mean, obviously you'd have to bring that forward, but then Gary would be not even at the Academy yet. Because Kirk was he'd be an ensign. So it'd be really weird, and he'd be like, would you really want to see teen? Then it'd be the kid from Charlie. It'd be Charlie X, wouldn't it? In a sense, just slightly older Charlie X, because he's much younger then. Whereas Gary was a normal officer in the movie, in the episode.
BJ Tehran, $2. There's a difference between villains and antagonists. Absolutely, there is.
Yeah, so at the start.
Yeah.
All villains are antagonists, not antagonists are villains.
Yep, absolutely. Matthew DeFreitas, $2. Soran's there to make Kirk look badass. Hashtag the fist fight.
There we go. Soran.
Yeah, Kirk needed somebody to fight. Soran... There's got to be other ways to get into the Nexus. I don't like his plan. We can't fly a ship. Why not? You were on a ship the first time when you got pulled into the Nexus, you dumbass. Park a ship in front of it. Same situation, essentially. Sure, the ship will get destroyed. Chances are you're going to survive in the Nexus, though.
I mean, you know how the planet gets blown up? Either way, you get blown up.
Yep.
Like, there's... Like even Vidra, go into a spacesuit and fly into it literally. If you need to.
Yeah.
But
much better ways to do it.
Because it's a real dickhead move to destroy an entire solar system. Like, that sucks. Cause I don't know if it kills every planet, but it definitely kills more than one.
It would, though, because he blew up the sun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Dick move.
And it's funny because the rocket, I love that the math doesn't work. The rocket gets launched. It should be at least like 8 minutes away or some shit like that. And then it blows up and there should be another 8 minutes for the it's just whatever.
Because like, by my count, was that rocket going at warp 9? Yes. Shit. Fair play to you, sir. Yeah. Fair play. Yeah. No, Soran is just a symptom of a bad movie, in my opinion, or at least of the lower class, because it's just got so many things. He's not the point of the movie, He's there as almost a side thought. He's the catalyst for events, and he's not really given much except like 3 good scenes, and then apart from that, he's just sort of pottering around. And unfortunately, if you take away his time burn scene, like, that's his best scene. Otherwise, he's just yelling at Klingons, talking to Geordi, and then on the planet, which is pretty who cares? Anyone could be that. Yeah. Weird character.
Well, Xerxes 2005 said the ship almost got destroyed before they got into the Nexus, though. Yes. But he was still on board the ship, got into the Nexus. Who cares? As long as you get hit by the ribbon before the ship, so put up a structural integrity field, strengthen your shields, get inside the Nexus before the ship blows up, and you should be fine.
Well, because they do say that he touched the Nexus as part of Enterprise B. Like, he didn't know about the Nexus. He was just an Elorian guy, and then they were in between being and not being the Nexus, and he experienced the bliss of having all of time, and then it was ripped away from him because of being beamed away. So did Guinan, which is why it's how much more impressive woman she is, it managed to not want to go back to that. So he was always trying to go back in, but if a ship only had to be next to it, and he could still be in the Nexus, and that was the Lakul, a crappy little colony ship, rescue ship of old tech. Not that he can still buy a brand new ship, for sure, fine, but it's like saying, if a bird of prey can slingshot around the sun, any ship can,
And the ironic thing is, part of him is in the Nexus regardless.
That always confuses me.
If it's similar to Guinan, there's still a part of him that is there, So there's still a part of him that is experiencing the Nexus and the bliss. So I don't know how that works, but
no, my assumption though is that it's because time is non-linear. For those seconds in real time he was in the Nexus, he's always going to be in the Nexus experiencing those few seconds. But Guinan got killed again. That's why she was in the Nexus, because she got killed again. Like, the entire TNG crew was in the Nexus because the planet got destroyed. Or, because or are they just saying you have to physically touch the ribbon, but if the planet is blown up by the ribbon, you don't get included? I thought it was just the radiation of the ribbon itself, because the planet got destroyed. Like,
I'm not sure how it works. There's no clear. I don't know.
Because the guy's doing this, the mountain range,
Yeah.
but Picard also goes into it. He's not standing up there going to touch it, but
That's because a tendril of like lightning comes down and hits him, like just close enough, you know. I don't know.
I always took the entire Enterprise D crew was in the Nexus. I always took that there because the whole thing got destroyed, and Picard was non-linear. Picard went back and because Elorians are temporally knowledgeable, he was able to keep memories of the Nexus, whereas no normal human could because he's gone back in time. And Picard went back in time to change it, so they never were in the Nexus because he's now out of the Nexus, and that's his linear existence. That was how I took that. I don't know why they're all blown up.
I never got the sense that the Enterprise crew was there because you think you would have seen one or two of them maybe.
But you see Guinan, so I was like, well, I mean, yeah, she's on Enterprise D. She just wanted to be the guide, etc.
Yeah, but she was on the ship that blew up in the Nexus just as they were beaming her out, kind of thing. So that's why she was there. Anyway, whatever. And the book goes into a little more detail about the Nexus anyway, but that's another story altogether. Let's see. BJ Vincent, $2. The Packlids from Star Trek Lower Decks. Great villains. Oh no, another Enterprise. That's great.
Well, Matthew DeFrida says Guinan was representation from Enterprise B era. If she was, she wouldn't know who Picard was, but she obviously knows Picard has all of her experience with him, so it's obviously not Enterprise B Guinan. And you can't say she's Guinan with Picard's memories.
She already met Picard because of Time's Arrow. She didn't know who Picard was.
No, Time's Arrow was Data. Picard wasn't in Time's Arrow. That was Data went back in time who met Guinan. No one else did.
Yeah.
So she went Data, that's fine, but then she wouldn't know who he was. So, that doesn't work. Oh, but Packlids. Yeah. Honestly, Packlids are more scary than Soran, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Because they're dumb.
Good dumb.
Fleetpaw Swiftback, $5. We're looking for the naval base in Alameda. Can you tell me where they keep the nuclear vessels? Cop was the real villain there. Could have been worse. Could have arrested them. I mean, you're asking in a Russian accent in the 1980s, right near a naval base, where the nuclear vessels are. I don't know. He could have been arrested. Could have been more of a villain. So. BJ Tehran, $2. Kirk asks where to find Admiral Kirk very fast. Or Khan asks where to find Admiral Kirk very fast. After watching the Genesis thing, though, where he says, I'm Admiral Kirk. An Admiral. No. Hold on. I'm totally off base with that. Because he meets Chekhov on the planet, recognizes Chekhov from the Enterprise, so he served with Kirk. Of course, he wants to find out what Kirk is up to, finds out he's an admiral, got promoted as a result of
everything
deserting them on the planet. And yeah, it is kind of contrived that way a little bit, I guess.
But Admiral Kirk has a certain ring to it, the power of the rank. So, he doesn't know anyone else in Starfleet, so saying Admiral Kirk and then,
Admiral.
And people are saying, yes, he did meet Guinan in Time's Arrow, but I guess I don't remember part 2 at all. Because I thought Data goes straight back into the present with the snake thing. I have no memory of them going back in time at all.
Yeah, I thought they met, and that's why her thing was a bald man was kind to me once, is referring to that. Because she already knew
that.
Picard.
But you still wouldn't know him for years and have that, that wouldn't be the same.
But it's the Elorian thing, though.
Yeah.
Whatever. James McGill, $2. Who's the villain among the Trekyards crew? Sarcastic.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know. Nobody. I don't have an answer. Oh, he's thinking. Does he have something profound to say?
No. Don't.
Squadron course, $2. Things need to make sense. Villains, motives, and plot. Well, generally, yes. A lot of times the villain might sound good on paper, but the reason that they're doing their villainy is kind of sketchy. Like, that's one of the things that falls apart for Kroll with me. Because Kroll, sure, great villain, great idea, but then everything about it, the fact that...
That's a lot, Stuart. Everything about it. That's wow.
Well, the Enterprise has the thing that they want. The Enterprise is the one that gets sent into the nebula, to unexplored space, which is right beside a starbase. There's too many coincidences there for Kroll to be a good villain for me.
I mean, to be fair though, the Enterprise was doing a mission. They happened to be the ship that is given the technology, the old weapon, as part of the treaty negotiations. That's in the film to Kroll, and then because the alien came out of the nebula, said hi to Yorktown base, the Enterprise was called because they were close to ship in range, which makes sense because they had the device, the weapon that was near, because it came from the planet, so it was near the system. They went to Yorktown, and then they were brought into the planet because the lady said, "Look, help me, help me." So it could be any ship, but they were already close to Yorktown, and then so it's not that contrived. It's just a case of he happened.
But where'd they get the MacGuffin? Because they were going to give the MacGuffin to those alien creatures in the beginning. What's wrong with it?
No, they got it from them. It was their peace offering as part of the treaty. And that's why they then put it into the safe. It's like, oh, cool. Then he insults them. It. Yeah, they were offering it because it's a thing he throws back to Spock in the hallway. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's giving it, and then he insults them, and they attack him, and then he beams out, and then he.
No, but Kirk was giving it to the people on the planet as a gift, as an offering.
I'll watch it again and see, but I think it's the other way around.
It's not.
Otherwise, why would Kirk have it?
Because he offers it to them, and they're like, "Why? What's wrong with it?" Nothing. They want to give it to you as a peace offering.
But why would Kirk have it then? And why would Kirk put it into storage after?
Exactly my point.
But that's not what I thought happened. Let's have a look.
Tom Zero's 48. Tom Zero's 48, $2. Unpopular opinion. I like Ruafo for the acting.
Yeah.
Ruafo, yeah.
So he does already have it in the first scene, but I can't listen to it, obviously.
Yeah, he says it's a peace offering from whoever they're treating the deal with. Give to them, and they're like, "Why? What's wrong with it?" And he's like, "Nothing. It's an offering." Yeah, but why are they giving it away? And that's what starts the whole kerfluffle, and he takes it back to the Enterprise with them.
Oh, so
it is part of a peace offering, so it could be from another planet in the system or something, I guess.
Yeah, Starfleet.
Other people on the planet.
Yeah, so Starfleet gave it to them to give to it, and I'm sure it meant something significant to the planet, or was meant to, and therefore it's close. They put it into storage, sends out a signal, and then Kroll, because they're close enough, Kroll detected it.
Yeah, it's all too much going on, and not a good explanation for it for me to like it. Unfortunately, it's too contrived. So.
But obviously, we just worked out that Star Trek 2 is also similarly this to this to this to this a little bit.
A little bit. I mean, if it wouldn't have been Chekhov, then yes, there would have been two. Chekhov was that linchpin that connected everything, kind of.
I still think it's just because he was an admiral, he used that rank. Because you're gonna believe the guy that served with Admiral Kirk for 20 years, aren't you, Mr. Chekhov, etc.
Yeah, and Mr. Jericho, that's what I said. He says not Starfleet, a race that they were at war with. Yeah, either on the same planet or another planet in the system was the one that gave Starfleet the thing to give to the other people. So Kirk was offering it up as a peace offering between the two people. Yes. Tiburon, $5. Part of the plot was that the aliens had infiltrated the communications of Starfleet around the base, so they knew what the Enterprise is up to. Mm-hmm. Well, it was very not explained.
Well, yeah, he was hacking into Yorktown the entire time because they managed to get through using advanced tech, so they knew what was happening. It's just Kroll. I mean, Kroll's waiting for like 100 years. That happened to be the day that everything went together, you know? As is all situations, you know? But let's talk about then. Someone mentioned Rawaffle. Who the hell thought of that name?
Rawaffle, yeah. It's an awful name, Rawaffle.
And I just watched this movie 2 days ago, so I'm right fresh in my brain. What do you think? About him, not the movie, obviously.
I don't know what to think about that one. I get that they're all, part of the same thing, the Baul or the Baku, whatever the fuck they're called.
Baul is the Discovery people.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like those guys as villains though, because sure they want just join your family and friends on the planet. How hard is that? Why did they get kicked out again? I don't remember the exact reason for the division there. So I'm trying to remember what that's all about.
So I just watched it, so I can tell you.
That's what I was hoping for.
Yes. So they are from a long time ago, unknown amount of time, but long enough we can assume kind of hundreds of years. They tried to take over the base. They were young people, so they were teenagers. Because the original adults that came to the planet, they stopped aging and went backwards in age. But anyone born fresh, because they fucked and had babies, they didn't not age until a certain point. But obviously once they hit puberty, they stayed the same age. And so people born to the planet got bored, because obviously how often are you going to be okay with tilling the field? Especially when you talk to your parents about their spaceship they destroyed. And you're like, but I could have used that to do something interesting. And so after a certain amount of time, the young people decide to revolt, try and take over, to try and do something new. And they got sent out because everyone else was like, no, whatever. And so only like 15 or 20, it's not that many. That's why you see so many other races, because there's only a couple, like a handful. But obviously they've still got the tech, they still, I guess, legacy know how to use the tech, whatever. So they get off the planet. Once they start leaving the planet, though, they age normally, but they want to have revenge on their family, and so they have to make an ability to go back in, and they want to be what they want to be, which takes them a long time. They enslave a few other races. They use them as the labor class, because I guess the Baku have more advanced tech than the average people. So they manage to enslave some races, make some ships, and then once they get powerful enough, but as you can see with their faces, they are being forcibly kept alive by technology, but they're dying slowly because their bodies just are aging, but they want to get revenge. And so at a certain point, when they finally get Starfleet's help, because their planet's in Starfleet territory, so they can't just go in there and shoot at people. So they make a pact with Starfleet to help them with metaphasics. Ooh, because they know all about metaphasics, as if they've been preparing this for decades. Because once they get the radiation, they can then be young again, which is what they want, because they had that when they were young for dozens of years or decades or even hundreds of years, who knows. And even at the end of the movie, or near the end, they say he's, at the most of toxins. So Rafa is currently dying in the movie. He's got his last few days, months, weeks, years, because that's it. They've prolonged as long as he can. So, it's basically a few dying youngsters that have had a life, aged, used tech to stay young, dying, and the only way they can go young is to steal radiation, and they don't want to. They're too proud to go out to the planet and whatever. And even when the friend does go back to the planet, they say it'll take decades for him to even start really healing, because they're that old or that damaged by their own genetic modification. So, yeah, there you go.
So they're just stubborn assholes.
They're the worst of their people, yeah, who then enslaved people and genetically modified themselves, yeah.
Huh.
So it's pretty interesting. I mean, again, you consider these peaceful people, a few of them enslaved 3 planets and built spaceships and were one of the main producers of Ketracel White for the Dominion in the Alpha Quadrant, so, did some things.
Okay, yeah.
You forgot all that, didn't you?
Pretty much, yep. It goes to show you how fucking memorable it is. I don't know what to say. I'm not a big fan of that whole thing. Their intentions never really were explained well enough, I don't think, to... Yeah, because that was the best explanation I've got of that, unfortunately.
And that is all in the movie, but it's kind of like... You gotta, the end, they kind of brush over the information a little bit, even though that's kind of the payoff stuff. But that's all in the movie. None of that's memory alpha in the books. It's all just said in the movie explicitly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, not a good villain in my opinion. He's just kind of an asshole. They all are.
But what I like
And
about
why is there a dinosaur-headed one?
well,
Always
because
one of the slaves, I guess.
yeah, 3 races. That's why you only see like 4 or 5 people that look like him because there's so few. Only if you so like everyone else is everyone else, which you don't realize until the end either. It's like you can count how many Baku escaped, who have survived, who have lived, and you can imagine this guy's the leader because he's got most hate and resentment. That's why he managed, his bile kept him alive well into. Cause I really wish this had like 500 years ago or something. I think it was at least hundreds of years ago they left. They do say, I believe, a slight time, but it's somewhat generic. But I like him in general because he's a good actor. I like the makeup; it looks very natural, considering how gross it is. And when we watch the movie, it's interesting. It's such a slow burn. You know he's dodgy. You know the Admiral's dodgy, right? Very early on, so that's not a reveal. But the Admiral takes the place of the bad guy up until the point that Raffo just murders him flat out. And then he instantly takes the lead, but he kind of sells it as like, oh, now I'm the big boss. But he hasn't been the big boss until then. So I like that kind of escalation factor. Although you can kind of tell they were kind of buddy-buddy, like they generally believed it together. It's just he's not given too much else. I don't know, he was interesting and a, simple motivation. But the thing is, he was working with Starfleet, and he was going to give them shit. So if Starfleet had allowed him to mutilate his planet, he would have shared it with everyone. Because he just wanted what he wanted, revenge. Revenge is a, compromise on how, who, and why, as long as the revenge is done, etc. Yeah.
I don't have much else to say about that, unfortunately.
Just watched it, so.
Yeah. Squadron Course, $2. What about the Enterprise Xindi arc? Great story, in my honest opinion. Yeah, it was all right. The Xindi as villains, though, like, that's not a villain. That's not a singular villain. Like, it's not what's his name? Degra. That's it. Thank you. It's not really him. I mean, he's not the bad guy. He was for a little while, I guess.
I mean, the reptilian guy is the bad guy if you break it down to the season, but they swap and change. Yeah. I think that's an example of a very 3-dimensional situation because you got tiers.
It's a realistic situation, exactly. Yep. Yeah, and that works better than most villains in movies because it has time to come to the surface. That's the problem with the movie villains. Is a lot of times it's very forced. Like, this is why they're a villain. So.
Which is why there's such a good payoff at the end when the reptilians just murder the insectoids because the insectoids have been douchey the entire time. And then they're like, should we really have killed Degra? Yeah. Okay, dead now. It's like, damn it, really?
And that's why too that Khan is such a great villain because he was in Space Seed. He's got reasons to be the way he is, on top of the fact that he was already a dictator and augmented. He's got reasons to be the way he is. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's the prequel to the movie in Space Seed, which is really, really important. It's a very slow-paced, good episode anyway, which does help. It's like they needed, really honestly, to have had like the sonar introduced in one of the TV shows. It's like with the Bajorans, they invested time to make the Bajorans make the Maquis for Voyager and DS9 respectively. That's important. So if you'd mentioned the sonar, give them one episode, say, right? Maybe they're bombing a Ketracel White facility and there's, you kill 2 sonar, great, and you hear of our raffle. Or Shinzon, that would be much harder to do, obviously. I don't know how on earth you'd do that, but that would have been good. But obviously we know the writing time of these movies is somewhat shorter, so being able to cross over things is just like impractical without massive cleverness of telling yourself in the past that you're doing this so you can write it early or some such.
2 more likes. Can we get 2 more likes? Get to 125 at least. I think we can. If you haven't hit like. Lancer 737 $2. He killed Mozart. Who killed Mozart? That super chat was a little while ago, so not sure who you're talking about specifically. Fleet Plus Swiftback $2. Admiral Doherty. Thank you. I never said his name before. A badmiral and antagonist. Yeah, he's both. He's like the model for a corrupt admiral.
But he's also interesting.
And so well acted and so well played too. I really like the actor. He's in Matrix, the third one, Revelations.
And he's also interesting because he also is in the same way as Star Trek VI's Starfleet. They got corrupted by an idea that can make sense on paper, right? Like you said, the villains. Like Dowdy is trying to help trillions of people on paper. And he does have approval from the Federation Council. So he's actually doing the legal thing. That's the sad thing. Up until the point where he agrees Rothel to kill the Enterprise, he's actually in the right legally. And you could argue morally, it's my whole dissertation. So he's actually doing... He's not actually a bad admiral per se. He's actually... because in essence, Picard is actually going against Starfleet. And so he's representing Starfleet. It's just the tone of how they... It's like when... not Naguru, Nechayev says to Picard, like, let's use Hugh and kill Borg, and Picard's like, no. Like, that's him going against Starfleet, breaking the rules, and making a mistake, probably, but it's the good thing to do, So, yeah, happens. I do need to go to loot, I'll be back in a minute. But tell us which other villain you want. We've got a couple left. No one's mentioned the golden villain. I'll talk about the golden villain, so I'll see you in a minute.
Okay, so the guy playing him was the one that killed Amadeus. Okay. Or in Amadeus. Yes, gotcha. Now I understand. Good stuff. George Mangrum, $2. Tremble at the sight of the great Vindicta. Ooh, there's a villain. Trekyards, the main villain on the screen now. I forget his name. He played a guy that killed... Yeah, gotcha. Khan. We've already talked about Khan. Oi, Governor. We haven't talked about Krug. I don't think that's who he's referring to either. Krug from Star Trek 3 was very, in my opinion, a really good, really fun villain for sure. We'll talk about him probably in the second one. So, Sam gets back, but yeah, I know. Medallion, I agree. Golden villain, C-3PO. What? I don't know who he's referring to specifically, so I don't know. But
howdy.
Howdy. I was just saying, yeah. Mention Krug for a second. Krug, I think, was a fun little villain from Star Trek 3. But kind of a rogue element. He's very much a, not a galaxy-ending kind of villain, but personal, pain in the ass. But
I mean,
one I really enjoy for sure.
Well, of all these villains, he has a dozen officers of men.
Yep.
He has a small posse of people on a scout ship. He ain't no big villain, guys. He's literally not, which is great. Yeah.
And yet he still manages to kill the Enterprise, and he takes down the Enterprise. I mean, that's pretty badass. Just saying. I don't know who you're referring to by golden villain. People are guessing C-3PO, so I forget that film if that's the case. So we talked about Vidra a little bit. Khan, Krug.
Well, we haven't. Well, Vidra, we haven't really gone back to, but it was more the whale probe we talked about. No, it's the golden villain though. Obviously, Nero.
Oh,
good old Nero. Arguably the best villain in a Star Wars film.
There's a reason nobody had mentioned him yet.
Arguably,
because he's not at all.
What do you guys think? Best
George
villain?
Mangrum, $2. Tremble at the sight of the great Vindicta.
Yeah. But what do you guys think? Is he the best of all the villains?
Fuck no.
No, I said the audience. I want to see who's on my side here. If he's the best one of all.
Oh, gotcha.
All of the many villains.
While you're there, spam the chat with that. Yes or no.
Yes or no. The best.
And then Mechanics 12.28, $5. Nero's last line in the first JJ film is a great line to go out on for any bad guy. LOL.
I have no idea what that was.
Is it fire everything? No.
No. Yes? How did he die? I guess the ship just... Does the jellyfish just blow into it and they die?
No, you get sucked into the big giant wormhole caused by the red matter.
Yeah. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's fire everything. I think is the last thing he says. Fire everything! And then you see... And then the Enterprise ejects its 15,000 warp cores. And then they get sucked into the wormhole, I guess. And the ship breaks apart as it's going in.
And no one bothers to say where and back in time they go. So we'll establish they go making it back in time, but no one cares about the writing.
Well, no, it's not like Vulcan got sucked back through time.
I mean, you don't know. I mean, it got destroyed while doing it. I don't think it survives being made inside out.
But if it went back in time, there would be, like, debris in an asteroid field in the same orbital path as Vulcan in the past.
It would also go into an alternate timeline.
True, but how many are there?
Lots.
Damn you, Sam. Yeah, it is fire everything.
Okay. I don't care. He's shit. So I say this because he's the worst one of all of this list. Because unlike Raffle, Soran, and Nero, and Shinzon, they're all a bit weak. He has nothing. He has nothing. Right? Like, he looks fine, but he has very few lines. He's angry. His plan makes no sense. He's stupid. And he's not very good in the film. Like, there's nothing good about the character. And I would honestly be embarrassed if I was the actor, because he's at the time was obviously known, although he's hidden. You can't tell it's the guy who he is, really, with how different he looks. But it's like I think Idris Elba was better, you know?
Oil Governor says he was shit as Bruce Banner, too. Yeah, he played Hulk in the first Hulk movie.
Yeah, so terrible. Terrible.
Trying to think of the actor's name. I can't remember it offhand.
I had it before I started. Kenneth Braga? No, that's not it. Also.
No, that's not it.
Edward Norton.
No, it's not Edward Norton.
Bollocks. That he was a Hulk though, wasn't he? Eric Bana.
Eric Bana, yeah.
Did I say Eric Norton? Did I get half his name right?
No.
I don't know. But yeah.
I don't know what you said anymore. I can't remember. But you were wrong. So
he's crap. He's just bad. It's like the first thing he would do is go to Romulus and say, "Hey guys, here, have free future tech that will make us strong." And they're like, "Oh, cool, thanks."
By the way, your son's going to blow up in about 80 years. You might want to plan for that.
Done. And then alternate timeline movie. You know, and then cut to when Spock comes in, he's commanding a warbird, a really sexy new warbird, and we're like, what? Done. Like, that would be incredible.
And then at some point, he can meet his infant wife and hold her in his arms. I'm going to marry you one day, honey.
I mean, they do live a long time.
Wait a minute. That went dark pretty quickly. The Scotch Trekker. Oh, sorry. Scotch Trekker, 2 pounds. Nero's obviously weaker than God in Star Trek 5.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think so.
I wanted God to be in the thumbnail. I thought that would have been great. Like,
Stuart, what does God need with a thumbnail? Come on.
It's true. It's good.
One thing I think that I know was a deleted idea, but by God, Nero, you needed scenes where the D7s warp in, massively damage an Armada, and then you see him in prison, like flashing back to the past, where we see they could even see like Picard or Spock. Yeah, well, he knew Spock. Yeah, have him see flashbacks of him in Romulan uniform dealing with Spock, like from the Countdown comic, and then you cut back to the present. Like that would be so much more interesting. Give him some sort of connection. Then have him be not tattooed with hair, and you see him fall into this horrible place, and see him be in prison. you know, or even the tattoos that he gets tattoos in prison. That'd be more powerful, wouldn't it? He's a normal Romulan, and he spends 20 years fighting. That'd be great.
Jason O, did he not know that he was in the past? Well, unfortunately, there's a big 25-year gap between when he shows up and when the movie takes place, essentially.
Pottering around.
And there was a deleted scene where he got like 25 Klingon ships come in.
Yep.
As the Kelvin is, or the shuttles are leaving, and they capture him and his crew, and he serves 25 years in a Klingon penal colony.
Then he escapes.
Probably Rurapente.
It is, yeah.
And then escapes. And meanwhile, 25 years, the Klingons have had advanced Borg Romulan tech, and then he somehow steals it back. So there's a big problem with the plot.
In a
There's
generation.
a big problem with the plot, like right away, with that movie.
Oh, God,
so
I didn't think about that. Yeah, why do they not rip the ship apart? How is he doing it? Like, that's a generation of time.
Yep.
It's so forced. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, Alex Kurtzman was one of the writers of our modern Trek life. He was one of the writers.
Well,
of
that's
that
what
movie.
Started it all. That's what started all my.
My God. At least he's in writing current Trek, but God, isn't that depressing?
No, but that's what started it all. That and then Transformers. He's also involved in the first Transformers movie, which don't touch it.
Third movie's great though.
Rob Orci,
yeah.
And Alex Kurtzman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great team. Good job, guys.
Like crap after crap after crap. Yeah.
Fuck is Orci? What is Orci doing? Orci. What is he doing these days? I don't even know.
Don't know, but let's talk about.
I don't care. So they're the biggest villains in all of Star Trek.
Someone made that
Alex
joke previously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Robert Orci, who was meant to be the better of the two of them, he was more the actual fan of TOS. The other guy was not a fan of TOS so much. Robert Orci, he was born in 1973. He was an executive producer for 182 episodes of Hawaii Five-0.
Nice.
Which is obviously very successful. Scorpion, which was actually very, very good. He was an executive producer on The Mummy, of Sleepy Hollow, of Star Trek Beyond. That's obviously Legacy. Now You See Me, Limitless TV show. That's a great show. Transformers Prime, who's a producer for that, apparently.
Ooh. See, Transformers Prime was one of the best Transformers series.
But obviously that might just be because he was involved in the other Transformers he was brought on.
Yeah.
And we know producer credits don't necessarily mean anything. Now You See Me producer, Into Darkness, Fringe, 74 episodes, The Proposal, Star Trek, Eagle Eye, Alias, Xena Warrior Princess, Hercules. He wrote for Hawaii Five-0, Sleepy Hollow, Minotaur. It says writer for Beyond, uncredited. I don't think he wrote for that. Suppose his career is just the career of JJ Abrams, basically.
And Scotch Trekker says he got into a huge rage and lost his studio cred. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about him lately. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
all I can see is he did Hawaii Five-0 in 2020, but nothing after 2020 according to this.
Well, we're only in 2021 in February, so.
But he only has 4 credits in 2020, and that was a lot of 2020. Yeah. Nothing else. Oh boy, he aged a lot since he did it. Huh.
Well, there you go. Oh yeah, Governor Scotty, I know this ship like the back of my hand. Bang. Yep. Is Sy-bok really a villain? No, honestly, he's not. But God is in that movie.
But what does God need with a villain?
To get the starship there. But what did he need with the starship? Oh well, there's the real question now, isn't it? Kurtzman was in Transformers Prime. Don't fucking tell me that, Xerxes 2005. Again, producer credit just because he was attached to the movies, probably.
I mean, Eugene Roddenberry has lots of producer credits. Doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that's a hey. Here's acknowledging you for something, resting on your past laurels. I'll put your name in it.
It's like he didn't work on anything after the first 2 scripts, and he only didn't do anything in them. So.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Sy-bok though. Antagonist. Possibly the most friendly of all the villains because he actually is happy and plays with them for a bit, vibe-wise.
And not really a villain at all. Like he's trying to. He thinks he has a better way, and he's just trying to let people know about it. Like, trust me, Shakari, it's the way to go. I'm happy. I'm a happy Vulcan. And that's the thing. That's what actually makes the best villains, is the ones that think they're doing something good.
But even that, though, I mean, he is a cult leader. Luckily, they kind of you go away from that as soon as you get onto the Enterprise. Luckily, otherwise he's not. You know, but like, let's go back. Why is he even on the planet? Because he's given a psychic message from the god creature, which tells him to come to him because he needs him to get on the planet. Fine, bring me a starship. But he obviously has a starship to get to the planet of peace.
Well, that's never explained, though. That's probably a book thing, a novel thing. Because why is he there to get the Enterprise there, to get a ship there to rescue the hostages that he takes?
Nimbus 3, I suppose. Yeah. Because he makes his accolade people of just random dwellers on the planet. But he starts out in the start of the film with nobody, and he makes these people cult leadery style work with him, who then take on a starship, and at that point everyone becomes redundant except him. But he doesn't use his mind powers on anybody ever again after a certain point. Everyone's just doing it because they're interested as well. But the whole thing's a ploy to get God off the planet.
Yeah, the whole thing is just to have hostages. I think it's to have hostages from all the major powers, so the Romulans, the Klingons, and the Federation, because one of them is going to send a ship. And the best place to get 3 of them together is Nimbus, Planet of Galactic Peace. That's, I think, the main thing behind that.
I like that. The issue is, obviously, if the Klingons or Romulans have hostages, they're going to murder you with fire and death.
Yeah, you wouldn't want the Klingons showing up to rescue anybody.
Given that the Klingon was sent there as a punishment, they won't care about getting killed honorably. Only the Federation is going to be useful, so it actually works against you to have all the other races. Because he obviously got to the ship. Now, I would like it if they explained he was already on the planet. He's been on the planet for like 30 years, and he gets a message in a cave. You know, kind of Jesus-like, whatever, cult leader. But I wouldn't mind that if he was like given a vision while on Nimbus. Like that was a planet. Like maybe when he was there, no one was there, and then they slowly like created the colony, and he was there. What do you think?
I think it makes sense that he was there to basically have solitude, because he was looking for something better, something different, and that whole thing of poverty. You give up everything you have. You go out on a walkabout, essentially. So I have no problem with him going to that planet, because we know that he can get a lot of followers there from all of the factions, all of the main powers, because everybody goes to Nimbus 3. It's kind of a shithole planet, but basically everybody can go. The Klingons, the Romulans, whatever. So if you're going to build a cult or have a following or have people to spread the word, what better way to do it? Because these people would probably, you assume, go off world again, back to their own world. So not only just Federation, but also Klingon, maybe Romulan. So maybe that's why. And I have no problem with him starting off on the planet, having been there for years, because that would kind of make sense if he wanted to spread his gospel or his word. And have the most impact. That'd probably be the best way to do it, is go somewhere where literally anybody can come to the planet.
Can we give, though, a shout out for the excellent performance of the guy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really excellent. And the fact that he wasn't the original actor and he got hired like a week before. Like, really.
Those are sometimes the best. Look at the most toys.
Yeah. Because he's like commits fully. So fully. But looking at the Memory Alpha, and again, quest. During his studies, Sy-bok received visions given to him by an entity who he believed to be God himself, and began a journey for a place in Vulcan mythology known as Shakari, from where all existence was said to have originated. In 2287, Sy-bok's visions led him to Nimbus 3. But if he had a starship...
He didn't, though.
We had a spaceship, surely.
He didn't, though. I think he said something about chartering passage on a ship to get him there or something. I think there's a line, something like that. It's not like everybody has a spaceship just because it's the future.
No, but he's on a planet that isn't Vulcan, which means he got there by a ship. And if he got there by a ship, why couldn't he ask the pilot to share his pay and take him straight to Shakari? The Enterprise got there with zero effort, and the Bird of Prey got through. Again, the Bird of Prey...
He probably didn't get this Shakari vision until he was on this planet.
Well,
because it's maybe closer to the god creature.
It says Sy-bok's visions led to Nimbus 3 though. I mean, that's whatever. I don't know where they're getting that from exactly. I agree. I would like it if he was already on the planet because he wanted peace and away from it. Kind of like an Obi-Wan vibe in New Hope. Like, because of life, he went sort of gave himself self-isolation, or I guess Yoda. I think that'd be more interesting. I'm going to read the behind the scenes where he talked to the chat for a second.
Yeah. John says he thinks the movies need a protagonist for a movie-length story to work. I don't think the TV series needs a villain. And hearing season 4 of Discovery already has a new villain, it's saddening news. Well, that's the problem with the serialized storytelling, because one season is essentially just one story, which, you need... I don't know. I disagree with the whole needing a villain, and it is sad to hear that season 4 already has one. But then again, if they called Osira a villain in season 3, she's really not. She's just a bump in the road, essentially.
No, that's I said. Well, I think they did say though that one of the bigger villains is a science problem, but there's a secondary villain to go with it, which is the same as season 4. I think that does work, especially as it should really be a Klingon or a Romulan or someone exist or a Ferengi, some known thing that is annoyance, causing problems as the Federation goes further out into the galaxy once again. Easy, done. It's just different to how Osira does it, etc.
I think season 4 of Discovery's cancelled, I've heard. I think I heard that a few times.
Well, season 3 was cancelled. What we watched was Discovery, was Strange New World, season 0.5.
Yeah, because that's right. Season 3 was cancelled too. Yeah, shit. What have I done with the last year of my life?
Lots. But yeah, Sy-bok. Yeah, I mean he's weird because he's not like, you can't help but sort of like him because the actor, he's so good to watch. Even if some of his stuff is cringe that he says, even if the Share Your Pain doesn't make much sense and doesn't go anywhere and doesn't even work necessarily, and
like he's a sympathetic villain, if you want to call him a villain. I still don't want to call him a villain because he's not. That's why nobody brought him up. Well, you had to mention him.
Well, and as soon as you get to the point where the hostages aren't hostages, they're just brainwashed. But are they brainwashed, given the fact that they're not? Because then everyone is. Then Chekhov's brainwashed, but he isn't really. Like, the whole line, he's just... It's a broken idea. It's not well thought out anyway, which doesn't help. Like the black holes, it doesn't work. They can both time travel and destroy with no catalyst for either. So his sharing pain doesn't mean the thing unless he is so charismatic that once he gets him to kind of state of euphoria, he can then convince him to help him because he's helped you.
Well, he's got the same powers as a Vulcan. He can do mind melds. He's got the whatever you want to call it, psychotropic, whatever the hell it's called. And I think that was part of his original ideas. But as he got closer to this god creature, he started to manipulate him a little bit. And I love the revelation at the end from Sy-bok, where it's like, it's been a lie. Like I think it was a mix of a lot of things. And again, it's not explored. It's not explained too well. This would have actually served well to have this be a season of, let's say, Discovery, where it's a season arc with him. You get more depth as to following his journey, how it started, how he started initially getting in contact with this creature.
More flashbacks to Spock's childhood. Then we can see young Sy-bok, young Burnham, young Spock.
I'm not saying literally Discovery. I'm just saying of a series.
Well, you'd have to. If you include that, you'd have to include Burnham now. So you'd have to include all three in the same house. Because they all lived in the same house for at least a year. Done. Canon. We know that, even though they've ignored Discovery. Yeah. I mean, I think they do say, though, that he had extraordinary psychic abilities. But I don't buy it's still mind control. I think it's, like I say, it's more of a... He doesn't touch the people. Does he not touch people? I think he just looks at them and then we get the heartbeat stuff. I thought it was more like, I don't know. I just like the idea that he's actually such a nice guy. Because if someone does something nice for you, and then he says, hey, let's go find God, I've helped you, It's like, well, especially since the people on this planet, I can certainly imagine, are downtrodden, they're barely able to get water. I mean, a guy says, let's find God. Like, well, yeah, sure, why not? And it's Space God, too.
Yeah. BJ Tehran, $5. I like Sy-bok as an antagonist. Star Trek V is a fun film for me. Read the making of book. Reading the novel right now, or read the making of book. Yeah, Star Trek V, as I always say, is one of my guilty pleasures for sure. There's a lot about Star Trek V I like. There's a lot about it I don't like, but it definitely has that trifecta feel. Like Kirk Shatner does a good job of doing the McCoy Spock triangle, and I think it shines through. And I love the villain too. The villain is very a TOS villain, as you know, something that they would find on a planet that tries to convince them that it's God, and you know, so there's a lot of elements to it that work. Plus, the bridge is really cool. I like the bridge in Star Trek V. I don't like the 75 decks, 74 decks ship, but you know.
Yeah, there were many problems with that film, but the basic idea is not one of them, which is the biggest problem, you know. Whereas like 09, a lot of things are wrong with it. And the actual premise is one of the things that's wrong with it. You know, it's not the effect, it's not the acting, it's the you know. But Star Trek V, like they spend too much time on Tatooine. It's clearly Tatooine. Like they waste too much time on that planet and don't give enough characterization to the people there if they're going to use it. Yeah. They spend too much time on the planet at the end that feels cheap by the end of it. The payoff's great, but they spend too much time walking around like through a quarry. It doesn't work. Like it's not good, fun stuff.
Well, the original plot, they were going to be fighting rock monsters and shit on the planet. So I mean, a lot of things changed on the fly.
And then the middle bit is weak in the sense that you get the rest of the crew, but they're so passive. Even though you should have this really great crew feel, and you have Sy-bok working with them and really energized feel. But all you get is this little story in the brig. But if you expanded it out, like it's not well timed. I know the entire rest of the cast didn't like the fact that they were played as sycophants that betrayed Kirk. You know, and as we know, DeForest and Leonard refused to be sycophants that went against Kirk, and then he had to write them out differently because they wouldn't play that. They said, "Well, we're not going to betray Kirk, William. Write it differently." Because he, it's weird.
I never realized it before now, but Nimbus 3, the Planet Galactic Peace, and it's Paradise Lost, essentially. So it's basically Eden. There's a Bible parallel there. Like they get kicked out of Eden. Never really realized that before. If there's video of Shatner's rock monsters, yes, there are actually. Yeah.
It's good, bad stuff.
And Chekhov gets to be captain. Absolutely. Yeah. No, I don't have much of a problem with Star Trek V. Not as much as a lot of people have. I mean, but Sy-bok is a very understandable villain. I think he was just coerced. He was tricked, and he meant well. He really did. Which most villains think they mean well, and it's clear that they don't. Him, at least, you can get the sense that he just wants people to be happy. He wants them to face their pain and be better people for it. So you kind of feel sympathetic for the guy. So,
but at the same time,
unfortunately, I don't think he should be talked about as a villain, really.
Although he is like the whale probe, he's the force they fight.
Yeah.
So it's a classical list, but by the same token, he does convince the entire bridge crew of the Enterprise to follow his orders without question.
Which is dumb.
I mean, if that's not a villainous maneuver, like, do you really think Chekhov and Uhura's getting near captain rank at this point is being convinced without any question? And they have no loyalty to Kirk at all. None of them try and, you know what I mean? So that's pretty villainous, if you think about it. That's as close to brainwashing. But we haven't talked about Chang, really, giving him his due. One of the best villains. Because he's just well acted, well played, well written, understandable, and small. He's only powerful...
Shakespearean villain.
Yeah, well, yeah. He's only powerful because he's smart enough to have the ship that makes everything else. And without that ship, he's one that's helping to orchestrate the internal. So he's a smart tactician who also happens to have a very smart tactician ship. Cowardly ship, obviously, no honour. But he's trying to do, he's able to sacrifice his own honour to help the Klingon Empire by having them commit suicide, basically, in the long run. But honourably.
Yeah. I mean, classic again, classic villain, Shakespearean villain for sure. Quotes Shakespeare for Christ's sakes, and played by a fantastic actor. That's one of the reasons I think he works so well. I do like the tech that helps him out though, and the fact that they incorporated him into Klingon Academy, so he's got a backstory.
Lovely.
Yeah, like that was again that helps with establishing a good villain. You know, we talked about that earlier. Khan had space seeds, so you understand the motivations. Same with Chang for Klingon Academy. Now, not a lot of people have played Starfleet or Klingon Academy. You can go on YouTube and watch all the cutscenes for it, so you can kind of get this overarching story or the movie, if you want to call it that.
Well, just like with Star Trek, other Academy, the Federation one, it's the last time Kirk plays Kirk.
Starfleet Academy, yeah.
Like, legitimately, because he plays in, like, 2003. He's the fattest he's going to be, but he still looks the part, and he plays it with Sulu and Chekhov, which is pretty amazing. They got all three of them. That's the last time he plays Kirk. Except in the Oscars once. Literally, for a game. I mean, obviously, audio in Legacy, but, you know. But that also sounded like old Shatner. It kind of just last, like, right at the last bit of fat, but not old-sounding Shatner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
BJ Tehran, $2. Chang, best villain after Khan, and Krug.
Well, Chang is the smartest of Khan and Krug. He's the strategist. Krug is the emotional rebel without a cause with a cause, and Khan is the almost emotionless as well. Like he's the calm, collective, like scalpel. You know, he will scalpel you to death, and then at the end he will burn you with fire. They're all very interesting, and they all. I mean, that's a trifecta. You know, that's a trifecta of villains right there.
Yeah.
And then,
plus the very duplicitous Valeris.
Yeah.
There's a few villains in Star Trek 6. Like, it's hard to pin down just one. Admiral Cartwright, I mean, he's got a backstory too. He was in other movies like Star Trek 4 and stuff. So yeah, there's not one villain really in Star Trek 6, but
I mean, there's the poster villain, there's the break the movie down. Because like you say, Sy-bok and God, both the villains, but Sy-bok's the primary, etc., etc. Yeah. Interesting. And that is all of the villains. Obviously Vija, whatever. It's fine. But guys, we want to get our last bit of super chats in. So spam right now with some fives, with some TV villains, and we'll talk about them briefly. I want to see $45. That'll get us to a lovely number. So that's, what is that? That's 9 of you. $5, throw out a TV villain, and we'll discuss it. End us on a high note. Go for it.
Yeah, because the TV villains, a lot of times you get two episodes. You might get introduced and then come back later, so you get a little bit more fleshing out with them. But yeah,
well, I guess as you guys throw the money in, does Star Trek need villains in the movie, Stuart? Given that they all have a villain except 2, but they have antagonists.
They don't, though. I don't think so, because the motion picture was groundbreaking, boring, but groundbreaking with no real villain, just a threat to the planet, but no real mustache twirling. Find out it was a human creation that came back. Same with Star Trek 4, one of the best films. Again, it's the whale probe, and it's pointing out that humans and their short-sightedness are basically the villains in that movie. The probe's just, what's going on, guys? You're quiet down there. You know, it's not sent to really destroy Earth or destroy the humans. It's just not nullifying everything to find out what the issue is. So I don't think it's needed. I don't think a villain is needed for a Star Trek movie. And I just want to say some of the best. Obviously, Star Trek 4 is one of the best, but also the motion pictures, like I said, groundbreaking, and it was its own thing. Not really the best, but
I think a villain as Shinzon and Nero are, where they just go boom boom pow pow, doesn't work as well. A villain as Khan, Krug, and Chang, where they are all 3-dimensional, smaller, and cleverer, where they have strategy and logic, and those work very well if they think them through thoroughly. You know? Like a force to fight against that is dimensional, and having them be multiple layers is cool because Khan has the Genesis plot and the Kill Khan, so it's multiple level. Chang, well, Kruger's the same plot, but he has also his lovely, so they've all got multiple levels, whereas Nero's just kill. There's a lot of.
Don't forget B'Etor and Lursa. I mean, they were built up during TNG, and they were in Generations as
sidekicks.
They destroyed the Enterprise. Like
They did.
They were sidekicks, but at the same time, that fit their character very well. But they were still bad guys,
Yeah, no, certainly. Yeah, I forgot about them.
Tiburon throws in $45 to shut us up, I think.
That was the 45 I asked for. Shit. Woo!
And it says Lore. I mean, Lore was. Was he a villain?
Well, he tried to kill the crew several times.
But that's only because of his brother, though. It's not like he was out to just kill people. He's killing people that are near his brother. Like, he's not. I guess he's a villain.
He fed the entire colony with crystal entity because he wanted to. That was not because of his brother.
Well, that's villainous. Absolutely.
I mean, it was maybe because all his brother.
And Laura's a good villain. Then I didn't consider that. But yeah,
and obviously he kills Borg because he wants to be a better human android at the end. But do we care about Borg? Maybe, I don't know. But the thing is, he's more interesting though in the one in Brothers where he's in it as a three-dimensional-ish character. Not that he's bad in Data Lore, but look, yeah, Lore is a roller coaster of great setup, great middle, flat-faced. It's a really could have been great and definitely one more. And you know what? You know what Lore needed? Lore needed an episode where Data goes to a planet, comes back as Lore, spends the whole episode as Lore, actually sells it, and at the end of the part one, turns out he's Lore. Data's on the other planet, like in captivity, and Lore's got this really clever plan. He needs the Enterprise specifically to find God and give him a starship. And then Picard has to fight God at the center of the galaxy. And then, of course, God asks, I do need a starship. Don't ask that stupid question, bald man. I was asked it once before. I had to laser beam them.
Squadron Course, $2. Gul Madrid from TNG, Chain of Command Part 2. Generic bad guy torturer number 45. I mean, okay.
But he's of the top tier. He's top tier of torturing could be anybody. Like, he plays it so dimensionally. The fact that he talks to his daughter and says, they're not people. Like, you understand why. Because he's
a Nazi.
Yes. He's a Nazi at Patriot, He's the guy you obviously would hire for that because he does not care about other people that aren't Cardassians.
So yeah, good villain. I wouldn't.
And he is of the episode.
He's a good bad guy. I don't know if I'd call him a villain per se.
Well,
villain is somebody that puts the hero cast in jeopardy, and he just puts Picard in jeopardy.
Do you think?
No, not often. If I can help it.
When you get to Dominion War and the Cardassians' turn, do you think he's the sort of guy that would go with for Cardassia, and then could actually be, even though he did bad things part of his career, he could actually work with the New Order to work with the Federation because he's not in it to be negative towards people, just for his own planet. Like, do you think he's kind of goes with the tide because he's doing it for his planet, or is he going to be bad forever?
Probably one of the ones that would try to escape to a different life in South Africa or South America, and then get captured and put on trial for war crimes. That's exactly what I can see happening to Gul Madrid.
Okay. I kind of get the sense that he's just a patriot, so if the government changes, he goes with them. He's not doing it for personal vendetta.
Yeah.
So I'm saying it would have been fun to him in DS9, like working with Starfleet, like
nobody trusting him. That would be great to have him come back. Absolutely.
Because he's just doing his job. Like, I just think that would be fun. That'd be fun.
Scotch Trekker, £2. Arguably, humans are the antagonists in Star Trek 4. Yep.
Well, that's always the joke, isn't it? The only villains are the guys on the whale ship, and they're in it for like 45 seconds. Those are the only actual villains of the entire movie. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
Leapod Swiftback, $10.
Ooh.
I can see you, Kirk. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Oh, now, be honest, Captain. You do prefer it this way, as it was meant to be. No peace in our time.
You in the shower,
Once more.
me watching, as it was meant to be.
ruining my nice quote. Once more onto the breach, dear friends.
Fire
Chang
that
was
torpedo.
Yeah.
Fire all the torpedoes. Fire everything! He meant. And he did, because
Oh,
only
good
one
guy.
torpedo at a time. You know.
Livy Julius, $10. I am the worst villain. Her most imperial majesty, mother of the fatherland, overlord of Vulcan, dominus of Kronos, regent Andor, breaker of Puggies, Livy Julius Augustus Laponus. It's Iaponus Centurius. Yeah. Damn. Tony Sussex, $10. If every movie villain wasn't killed off at the end, would help. Trek movies could use an overarching, lingering threat, like a Dukat pulling strings behind the scenes.
Interesting.
It is interesting, actually. I'd probably get annoyed by that though, pretty quick. Like it's like the shows like Bones or whatever, where you got the bad guy who comes back every fucking season after you think they're dead, or it's like, just stop. That doesn't happen in real life.
That was my plan the whole time. Like, it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Although Scottish Trekker says, you're forgetting it was the humans who hunted the humpback whales to extinction. No, we knew that. That's the point of the movie. What?
Yeah, we said that humans were the villains because they were short-sighted, essentially.
That's the whole point of the movie. Nice. Nice. He's back.
I'm back.
But Stuart, I think that was a very successful live. Hopefully you had fun talking about the specific villains of the movies rather than everything in general. I liked the kind of... It wasn't in order.
My brain just shut off. My brain just shut off halfway through it, unfortunately.
Oh,
I'm
no.
very kind of tired.
No. You were good. Yeah.
But yeah.
So tune in for David Bessig's episode is Ship Part 2 on Saturday. We're going to film more next week. Do some more lives. I'm sure we'll do a TNG. We may do another top 10 next week. See you guys think about those. You said, remind everyone the lives we're doing days-wise because the days you can't do. So which days are we doing lives?
Monday, Thursday, and Friday. Tuesday and Wednesday I cannot do. So yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. No, sorry. Monday, Thursday, Friday. Expect lives. Goddamn. See, tired. Yeah.
Yes. We're gonna have a busy film week around that, Stuart. I've got some cool stuff for us to film.
Yes.
And it's gonna be a good bit of time, guys. We are got some more guests on soon. Do not worry. We're gonna do some more starting online filming soon. Plans are in the works, etc. We hope you guys continue to join us for all of our fun lives.
Yeah, and just so you know, Samuel, I can't film at all on Tuesday or Wednesday, so
there you go.
And Olivia Julie throws in $2 and says last, so she got the last super chat slot.
Yeah, we don't want sniper water today. I think the president has spoken, so no one else.
That being said, we would like to say thank you for joining us. Come on, lock and load, guys. Fire.
I was working for a living. See, he's on the Mark Lawrence side of the fence right now. Mark's like, more. Two presidents, you know? Oh, dear.
Yeah. I think we have 3 presidents, actually. I think somebody else joined that tier.
Oh, goodness.
Anyway, guys, that's it for now. So thank you so much. See you next week. We'll have stuff being released on the weekend, and I probably do a live on the weekend or something as well. So stay tuned for that.
Have a tremendous weekend, everyone. See you guys soon.
Bye guys.